Hello everyone and welcome along to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. This week, Sam Turner and I delighted to be joined by Ken Pitterson. Ken, a lot of people would have seen you on ITV Racing. You're also working on various other media platforms. But if I was to ask you what you would describe your role in the sport as, how would you do it?
So lucky. That's me. No, my job, basically I'm known as a paddock judge or paddock expert. So my role is to assess how horses appear in the paddock. Are they fit? Do they need the run? Assess how they look in their coat wise, backward or forward. And you take a whole view of all the horses, not just a particular one, the whole view, so you can assess how good the actual race looks before they actually put a foot on the track. Sorry.
And how did you acquire these skills?
Just being in the right place at the right time. I happened to be at Cheltenham in the 80s where I used to go race with loads of my friends. I left on my own. Someone introduced me to Gerald Delamere, who was, a doyen of the paddock at the time. We got on like a house on fire, and we still do. And he just taught me the ins and outs and the basics. And I've just moved it on from where he had it to where it is now.
Sam, sorry.
I was just going to say, Cheltenham in the 80s, we've seen that on film, haven't we?
Just about.
Just shows how old I am, Sam.
Yeah, mate, no worries.
Well, one of the things you do, obviously, on ITV Racing is you pick out positives and negatives, for example. I mean, do you do this for as many people? I mean, how do you make regularly, how do you make yourself or your knowledge available to people?
Well, lucky enough, I work for William Mill Radio, which I've been doing for 20 years. It's 20 years this year. I've been working for them. I write a piece on at the races, which I describe what I've seen on the track. I get to write it down. I've worked for various people. I mean, I've worked for bookmakers. I've worked for professional punters. Yeah, I've done.
Don't say too much, Ken. The HMRC do watch this.
And I've done various things. So yeah, I mean, even a couple of years ago, I was actually helping Jim Crowley with all his rides for Shadwell. So yeah, I've done various roles on Rishi, even though I'm looking this young.
Incredible,
yeah,
incredible.
I know.
And what is it that you feel is the thing that, when you say you go and you look at these horses in the paddock, what is it that you're specifically looking for that any other novice can benefit from and say, we'll go and have a look at the horses in the paddock? Give us some expertise that we can use.
An athlete. That's what I'm looking for. You.
Spot on.
I hope you're better at judging horses than you are humans, Ken.
God, you are on fire today. Come on.
Oh no, you're looking for something that really stands out. You're looking for an athlete that's got the whole package. I mean, it's got the physique, mentally it's sound, it looks well, it moves well. That's what you're looking for. And you get a few of them each year, either national hunt or flat racing, that just stands out and is just better than the rest.
I was going to say, because most of us can spot a Constitution Hill,
Yeah.
or a Falbrav going back a few years. You
Yeah.
know, those
Yeah.
absolute monster beast horses. It's the little things that you pick up that would necessarily they'd escape me. Horses that you'd seen before a month ago, and you thought, oh yeah, that's a different class now in the codes, or how his demeanour is, or her demeanour.
Yeah, but that's just been going racing. You're going racing over a length of time, and you gain that knowledge to see how a Paul Nicholls horse looks, or a Nicky Henderson horse looks, or Alan King. So you kind of know how their horses appear before they run.
Yeah.
So you get that sort of background knowledge of all those years of how they do it, and then I don't keep them all in my head, Sam. I'm not that clever. I write them down. I actually make notes. So I make my notes and I keep them in the computer. Every time they run, I can just refer to how they look. So you're basically building up a picture. And the thing with national hunt horses, you've got a long data and a long picture. Flat horses, you've got 3 years max.
Yeah.
2-year-old, 3-year-old, maybe a 4-year-old. So your picture of a flat horse is very small and very short. So you've got to be a bit more, more precise and more direct in a flat horse, where in a jumper, you've got more time.
I was going to ask you how you keep up with the workload, but obviously with the national hunt we only get small fields, so I should imagine it's a lot easier, isn't it? And less volume of racing. But through the summer, that must be really intensive, labour intensive.
It is. I mean, look, you know what it's like, Sam. You're doing your speed figures. I mean, it is. Summertime is a lot of racing. I can't say I do all of it, but all the time I go racing, I make notes and I put them in my computer when I get home or first thing in the morning. So yeah, it is. It is a lot of work, but it's enjoyable. I mean, we know that it's proven over the years that it has benefited me and other people as well. So yeah, it's work, but I enjoy it.
Could you give us, I know people hate to hear and say these things themselves, could you give us some examples of when you've looked horses in the paddock that have either been a horse that you think most people don't fancy because of the price or whatever, or the other way around, and you go, this favourite doesn't look well, or can you think of anything significant?
Well, I think the one that always stands out for me in my younger days was Denman in the Sun Alliance. It was on the Wednesday,
Yeah.
and he had blown everyone before, done everything right, and that day he turned up and he didn't look great. His coat was patchy, and in the chestnut you can see that. I mean, anyone can see that. It's got his coats are patchy from his neck to his hindquarters. Didn't look great, and I thought, well, that shows that he's not at his best, and hopefully we can get him B. And lucky enough, I was working for a bookmaker at the time, and I said to the bookmaker, I think we can get this B. He looked at me as if I was mad, but I said, look, I think we can get this B. And I said, the only horse I like against him was Nicanor. And lucky enough, it worked. So yeah, sometimes you see horses which at that particular day they're just not at their best, and that's when you sometimes take advantage, because it looks like maybe Aplutard wasn't at his best. Obviously, he wasn't at his best at Haydock.
Yeah.
So there might have been a reason that he didn't look great in the paddock. He may not have travelled. He may not have drunk while he's been over here.
Yeah.
And those little things show up in their demeanour and in their coat.
Anything? Obviously, you touched on Aplutard. Were you at Haydock?
That was a sorry story. That was. I was going.
Oh, okay.
I got onto the A40 and I spent an hour and a half after an accident sitting waiting, and I thought this is not worth it. So look, it's one of those things that happens.
Yeah.
Lucky enough, no one was hurt, but so I didn't get there.
So to this point of the season, has there been anything that's really struck you, physically that some people don't know about?
Yeah, I think going to this weekend, it'd be interesting to see John Bond, because I saw him make his debut. He's a typical Nicky. Nicky's got a class horse. He never has them fit first time up. He builds them up. He builds them up to whatever gold he's got going.
So Constitution Hill wasn't fit?
I've asked I asked a couple of people who were there, and they said no, he wasn't 100% fit. There was definitely room for improvement fitness-wise.
He's beaten Epitante by 12 lengths, given her £7, and he wasn't fit.
Yeah.
He might improve for the run.
He might.
Okay, right. So John Bond.
Yeah, he turned up at Warwick. Physically, he's got strong. You can see that he's a much more stronger type than when he was last year, because obviously he had summer at grass. And you looked at him, you can see typical Nicky. He left a bit to work on, and then he just showed his class by skipping around Warwick and winning as he liked.
What did you think of Montmoral?
I thought he was straighter than John Bond, but will improve a little bit for the run. Yeah.
So you're able to ascertain the improvement from the not just the physical appearance, but also by the knowledge of how trainers and their MO have been gathered over the years.
Yeah, because trainers are creatures of habit. They go to, if they've got a Derby horse, if Stout got a Derby horse, it goes to York, it goes to the Derby. He doesn't go anywhere else. Aidan O'Brien goes to certain races. Paul Nicholls runs horses in certain races towards Kempton. So they just have a way of doing things which has worked, and they just keep on doing it.
And sorry, do you with that, just on that question, what about at the slightly lower levels? I mean, those are the obvious ones that a lot of people would see on television. But what about on the everyday circuit that trainers or smaller trainers or?
Well, I think the thing is, what I can say about this game that you're always learning is like you've got new trainers. So now we had George Bowie, who made a great success in the flat this year.
Yeah.
We hardly knew about him, right? Philip Hart Defoy. You kind of learn how they turn their horses out. So you kind of get an idea, right? Philip Hart Defoy horses are normally really fit for their first run, and they might not find a lot more improvement going forward, but it's just he holds that fitness. So you just kind of get those sort of things. Look, sometimes they work, sometimes they make you look stupid, but you try and get those little edges if you can.
I was just going to say, you just can't beat being at the races, can you, sometimes? I know on Racing TV we try and show as much paddock stuff as we can, and Sky do the same, and ITV are very good like that. They're very keen to bring us those paddock shots, but you just can't beat getting next to horses and seeing them. You might just pick up one small detail that will stand you in good stead for the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing. I was at Kempton Review last week, and a person came up to me and he said, "I seen you on ITV," and he said, "Because of you, now I'm looking at horses," right? And he said, "Look, I'm not saying I know what I'm looking at, but I can see something," and he said, "I can actually see what I'm doing, and I've made a bit of money out of it." And surprisingly, because I've done the ITV thing, that people from Indian industry, outside the industry, trainers, have all come up and said, it's just a great thing because it's about the horse. You're talking about how he appears, what he does. It's not about the betting. It's not about the form. It's just basically what you see. You just try and relate to the
Get people at the bar to go and look at the practitioners and the horses that we're going to see on that afternoon, especially like bumpers, novice hurdlers, which you wouldn't, obviously Newbury run a lot of those that were nice over the weekend. Nice horses you might see that you think, well, that'll make a chaser. 2-year-old races as well. You can just pick up so many little gems, can't you?
Yeah, you can do. I mean, positive and negative, because you can see a horse which is cost a fortune. He walks in and you think, how much did that cost? It looks like doesn't look much at all. So it's like everything. You're always learning, and as long as you just seem, if you accept, you get things wrong, and you get things right, and you just keep going on. And
but from the things you get wrong, you learn as well.
Of course you do. I mean,
put that in the data.
William Mullen said a great thing to me about running horses. He says, I run 3 or 4 in a race. He said, but I learn from the defeat, the ones that lose. It's not only about the winner, it's about the defeat. So I know what I can do with a horse that got beaten 4 or 5.
Is there a book coming out, Ken?
No.
You should put all these things down. I mean, they'd be great.
But that's almost in a little sentence the difference between British and Irish trainers, isn't it? Same with Aidan O'Brien.
And learn from defeat.
Yeah.
They use them as a stepping stone. They're not scared to lose the maiden. The winning tag.
The 2 champion trainers, respectively, on the flat and over jumps, Charlie Appleby and Paul Nicholls, they both run their horses and don't mind getting beaten because they quite happily say, I'm going to learn something from this.
Yes.
I mean, actually, even Aidan O'Brien has been speaking about the same sort of principle.
Yeah.
I mean, the very best say run and you learn from...
The worst thing, in my eyes, is when a horse racks up 5 wins.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks, I can't get it beat. Can't get it beat. I don't want to go here. I don't want to get it beat. And then you just think, just take a risk. You never know what happens. Look, Dan Skelton took a risk, around, I forgot the horse's name, Haydock, the other week. Protectorat. Right, everyone said, Plutarch will win it, easy. He ran it, he beat it. Yeah. He didn't turn up. So if you don't take a chance, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he also knows a bit about this television game, etc., because he's led me beautifully into talking about horses run up a sequence so far. It's a small sequence, but Constitution Hill, no doubt, the headline act as we talk about this week's racing recap. Well, there is only one place to start when talking about racing recap from the action on the weekend. Ken, I'll start with you. You've already mentioned that you had people there who gave you the opinion that Constitution Hill wasn't quite fit, 100% fit. But my goodness, what did you make of that performance in beating Epitome?
You had to be blown away by the performance. I mean, it's only his fourth run over hurdles. I mean, he's still learning. And he's still got improvement to come. I mean, as I said, what surprised me was that he made the running. I wasn't expecting that. So that took me by surprise that he made the running. And his jumping was good. He travelled nicely. And you can see, as Nico squeezed, he found, and then he let him go, and he quickened the weight, and it was a very impressive performance, just taking it nicely towards the post. So yeah, it was very impressive. You could not but be impressed by the way that performance was.
Sam, 4-7 with Bet365 for the champion hurdle. The dual champion, Honeysuckle, is 4-1. Talk to me about that price.
Well, Honeysuckle.
Well, both.
Constitution Hill. I mean, his just last 2 performances have just been seismic, haven't they? I mean, it's just the way he jumps his hurdles as well. I mean, it's the perfect equation, really, of ability allied with temperament, attitude, class, skill. He's just push button as well, isn't he? Just so uncomplicated. You can drop him in, he switches off, have him in front. I think they were just keen to keep him away from Not So Sleepy, to be honest, and make sure don't go anywhere near him. And make sure there was no dramas, and that's exactly what you got with Constitution Hill. A no drama performance, but still a stellar marquee performance. He's been described as a freak and a beast. I mean, that's not just you at the buffet table. This is Constitution Hill we're talking about, and he just devours his rivals. And I just think he's got that X factor. Everybody can see it. I mean, you don't have to be a clever analyst to be able to work out how good he is. Just on the numbers, he was 50 lengths quicker on the circuit than the juvenile hurdle. He was 29 lengths quicker than War Soldier, who looks a nice prospect. He was 10 lengths quicker from the third last, geared down for about the last 100 yards as well, with Nico waving and accepting the adulation of the Newcastle crowd, who was very sizable as well, which is great to see. Biggest for 11 years. That was fantastic. So he's putting numbers on the gate as well. And I think it's great that we're talking about some UK stars now. I mean, there's one or two in Ireland over the weekend as well, by the way, that look as though they could be pretty seismic performances. But last week it's Protectorat, brilliant speed figure, etc., long Presse, Constitution Hill. We're getting some stars this side of the Irish Sea, thankfully.
And Jet Powered, another name I'll mention, but we'll come back to him in just a moment. So, a couple of things I want to mention about Constitution Hill. One is, it seems like for a lot of Honeysuckle fans, that just by saying that you think Constitution Hill might be one of the all-time greats, which I think you're perfectly entitled to after the way he has displayed.
Think so.
What's that?
I don't think you can say he's one of the greats.
No, I said I use the word might.
All right.
There's no way I'll say he's one.
Right.
Just like with
Not four
Flightline.
runs,
There's no way I'm saying like
Right.
Flightline, 6 runs and being an all-time great. Hang tight, just a second.
Yeah.
I'm saying he might be one of the all-time greats. He hasn't even won a champion hurdle yet. But to talk about him with that potential, it's people who are Honeysuckle fans seem like you're dissing the mare. You're not.
Denigrating her
It's possible.
performances.
It's possible to do both. Appreciate her and also the potential of this horse. The second thing is then, therefore, and you've kind of given your thoughts away, when people start talking about Easterbrook, Hurricane Fly, etc., Forheen, is that too soon?
I think so. I mean, the thing is, it's like it's always now, isn't it? Everyone kind of forgets what happened years ago.
Bias.
I mean, the old lads would tell me, "Oh well, Sea Pigeon, Night
Golden
Nurse."
Signet.
They were all brilliant horses, and they were brilliant horses. And it's hard to quantify to put them all together. But look, Constitution Hill could be the best hurdler I've ever seen in my lifetime.
After 4 runs, have you ever seen a hurdler that level? Either one of you?
Not with the natural ability, I don't think, that he's got.
I'm trying to no. I would say no. I have to admit, after 4 runs, no.
Yeah.
But he's got. I mean, Honeysuckle has done nothing wrong. Never been beaten in 16 runs.
Yeah,
Everything that's come up against her, she's beaten them. Right? And how good is she?
Don't know.
No one knows.
Don't know.
Nobody knows.
We'll find out in March.
We'll find out. Well, hopefully they all get there. But the thing is, she's got to take on new pretenders over in Ireland.
Which we'll talk about.
Yeah. So all those things adds to the race. But the problem with Constitution Hill, there's nothing in England to test him. That's the thing. There's no horses around here in any other yard other than Nicky's that can give him a race.
Yeah.
So that's the slight doubt. But the thing is, he is without doubt potentially a very, very good horse.
Well, if you look through the strict line with Epatante, obviously, as well as she did in the champion hurdle, and Honeysuckle beat her quite cosily, but it took a mistake from Epatante to sort of seal her defeat at March.
Yes.
12 lengths, the margin, geared down. I would love to have seen Epatante ping the third last when she was travelling and not walk through it. That was a bit of a shame, that, because I'd just like to have seen, if the revs had been kept up on Constitution Hill, what he could have really done. But look, they've got to keep some petrol in the tank. But there's no reason to think that Epatante hasn't run her race. She's beaten Not So Sleepy 2.5. They dead heated last year. I know it was a strange race, but there's no reason to think that Nicky wasn't happy going into that race with her. She's got a good first time out record. She obviously acts brilliantly at the track, 2-time winner. You'd be going mare's hurdle with her, wouldn't you? I don't think
that's the other thing.
on.
I mean, if you are an Epatante fan, you're happy to take
You
on.
go champion hurdle, would you?
Because the thing is, again, like I said, he may have an off day. Constitutional Hill has an off day. Epatante could take advantage. So I always, why run away from a defeat? Because he got defeated. Okay.
But if he doesn't have an off day,
if he doesn't have an off day, well, then she won't beat him. But horses are horses.
I think Nicky will look at that race and think, well, we've been beaten by Honeysuckle. They're not. It's almost like a leaderboard, isn't it? When you've got John Rahm in front of you and Rory.
At this stage, Epatante
got a lot of traffic to get through.
And I'm just looking here. She's 40-1 with Bet365 for the
Epatante.
For the champion hurdle, Epatante.
And I bet it's near favourite issue for the mares.
Hang on, wait, I'm not that fast.
Yeah, but I just think you just got to take it. Don't because you got defeated. I think you just
So don't be scared by one
She's
horse.
92 joint favourite with Brandy
Don't be
Lowe.
scared by one horse, but you can be scared by 2. And State Man's no mug,
the
and
thing-
Warband's quite useful.
Yeah.
But the good thing about the Cheltenham Festival is that there's always a race now for all types of horses. So there's a race for just mares.
So
there's
Over 2.5. Yeah.
So it suits.
Might put a bit less pressure on her jumping as well.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Okay, right now, Constitution Hill or Honeysuckle or Epatante for the champion hurdle right now.
I have to go Honeysuckle.
Each way, Ken.
No.
That's an account closer, isn't it? That is an account closer. I just think he's the most talented. I'm going to sound terrible. I've never been totally won over by Honeysuckle.
I think that's
Right.
I think that's slightly
But I was the
harsh,
same with
but-
Hurricane Fly, and he won about 13 straight. So
Yeah.
that means absolutely nothing. I admire her. I think she's a terrific mare, but I just think this lad's got something special about him.
Yes, I don't think that I've seen a hurdler quite this exciting.
And that's the word, hurdler. The way that he hurdles like make a stand, doesn't
Yes.
he?
Yes.
He wastes no time in the air,
Yeah.
and he's almost like oil going over a brick. It just like
He is
slithers over
something
these
else.
hurdles.
It really is something else.
The best two, literally quickest hurdlers I've seen were Binoculars and Make a Stand. They were so quick over their hurdles, and this fella's got it even after 4 runs. So
Yes.
I'm playing devil's advocate,
Yes.
but I think. He is definitely potentially the best horse we could see over
What's
hurdles.
good now is that lots of people on social media are getting wound up by people praising Constitution Hill, etc. So it even got to the point where someone's offered me 9-2 on Constitution Hill for the champion hurdle to a maximum bet of £20, which I think is highly illegal.
Which you will, of course,
You've got to
donate to
take.
charity.
We've both said because he took the chance of saying he'll put up 20 quid, 9-2, and we'll both stand there.
I'll take the 4s if he lays it me.
Okay, we could talk about Constitution Hill for the entire show. That's how exciting he is. But also at Newcastle, Ken, there was a mighty performance in the Rehearsal Chase from a horse that I have always loved, and I cannot wait to see what he's going to do for the rest of the season. Presse, I thought that was really good. Made one bad mistake as well during the race.
Well, for the old blokes, people like me, that's a really good performance because he's giving weight. He's giving nearly 2 stone to the second. And to me, I was a young lad, that's what Russian hunt racing was all about.
Yeah.
Horses carrying big weights in handicaps. And I was very surprised Venetia went there to say she's going to give away, and he was very good. I mean, I love the way this horse jumps. He really doesn't, it's effortless the way he jumps.
The first part of the race, the first 3 fences, he was sort of 4th or 5th in behind horses, and without any effort at all from Charlie Deutsch. And maybe I'm seeing this through rose-tinted glasses, but 3 jumps, and he jumped himself to the front without using any juice at all.
Right.
Would that be fair?
Yeah, he's such a fluent jumper. I mean, he was a great jumper as a novice, and looks like he's carried it on again. He's just got a lovely way of going about it. He jumped really well. I thought, looks like he's just going to be under pressure here coming 2 out. I thought, it might be interesting. He shook the reins, he quickened, he jumped, and I was really impressed by him, giving away weight, which is always a mark of a good horse, I feel.
Handicappers thought it was by £6 his best career performance. He's 6 from 7 for Charlie Deutsch, and his only defeats have come in April when he's probably been over the top like he was at Aintree.
Yeah.
And he went to Sandown, didn't he, after winning by 20 odd lengths in a novice hurdle when he first came over. So he's a class animal. I love the way that Charlie Deutsch, he's just won a length, hasn't he? But after the last, it's just like, ease him over the line, keep the petrol in the tank, look after the lad, and if it came up very soft, Kempton, it'd be fascinating to see him in that race.
5-1 for the King George at the moment, 7-1, second favourite for the Gold Cup. Either of those prices interest either of you?
It all pivots around Galopin de Champ, doesn't it? I mean, we talked about Protectorate last week and what he did on the clock, which was exceptional. So I think he's a major player Gold Cup wise. But we're yet to see Galopin de Champ, and he's the next beast off the production line, isn't he? Plus Sutton.
I've seen him. I was at the Dublin Racing Festival when he performed that day, and lucky enough, where myself and Jack we stand, Willie either stands next to us or sits in front of us, and you watch him, and he's got a galaxy of stars, and I've only seen him show real emotion when the horse goes past a winning post. That day was Facile Vega and this fella.
Really?
You can tell that he thinks he's got something special, and he's just a monster of a horse. So he could be again another one like Constitution Hill. That just could be an absolute star.
Well, he's 9-4 favourite for the Gold Cup. With Bet365, Galopin de Champ.
But at least there's some competition from this side of the Irish.
From this side, because obviously now we have second favourite Presse, third favourite Protectorate.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good that we've got horses that are going to take on the Irish, because that's what we need. We need competition.
And they're proper Grade 1 horses as well. They're
Exactly.
not bumped up handicappers, are they? They're proper Grade 1 horses that are progressing well.
Yeah. Well, strength. Strength.
Yes, exactly.
In defence. You were at Newbury on the weekend, Ken, and we'll talk about the Gold Cup first of all, the big race on Saturday, where another good day for the Skeltons. Milos, I thought he was in trouble when Remastered came to him.
Well, watching the race, I thought Thomas Goodenwall gave Remastered the perfect ride.
David Noonan.
David
Because I did the same thing with Tom Scudamore when I
Scu
said
gave Jericho Rock
he
the
did give
perfect
Jericho
ride.
Rock a good ride. Yeah.
But David Noonan gave him a brilliant ride. He took his time, he came, he timed his challenge to perfection. And I thought he's got Milos. But to be fair, he couldn't get on terms with him. Milos found more and more going towards the winning post. So it was a really good performance. I mean, Milos did it off a £4 higher mark than when he won that banger.
Yeah.
He's tough. He's 2 from 2 for Skeltons.
Yep.
Progressive horse, and yeah, it was a gutsy performance, a good performance. It's interesting to see how high he can go, but of a top weight this year was only 154. It wasn't the most classiest of Coral Gold Cups we've had, but it was a competitive one.
I gave the kudos to the Skeltons again. You know, Protectorate obviously last weekend, this horse this weekend. I think we're only 100 grand behind.
Yeah, not
PF
far now,
Nichols.
about 100, 140, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, a couple of big weekends for them.
Yeah.
Wonder how long Mr. Nichols will be going, my mate Dan, when he's looking
done,
over his
Dan,
shoulder.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he always has said that Dan's going to be his biggest threat going forward in the Trainers' Championships, but too early to be talking about those. Spare thought for David Pipe, brilliant training performance, second and third. Bit of cut in the ground, wouldn't have gone amiss, certainly for Jericho Rock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Two lovely horses to go forward with. Hopefully they're sound after the weekend. Correct Rambler, astonishing performance from him. I mean, once that camera angle as they turn into the straight and you see him jump 4 out, the ground that he makes up going past horses. I think just speaking to Scoo, he's going to get probably a little entry for a hurdles race over the Christmas period, then run up at Kelso in that Premier Chase after the weights have come out, and then it'll be all systems go for the Grand National.
Wow, where he could end up running against Milos.
I think he's 20 to 1 or something like
Do you
that.
think he might need these softer ground because he just couldn't lie up on Saturday?
Yeah, and that's the problem. He's a bit like one for Arthur, isn't he? I mean, he's almost like, a carbon copy, gets behind and then finishes strong. What an engine he's got. We saw that at Cheltenham, didn't we?
So he's 25 to 1.
25.
Bet365 for the Grand National, Corach Rambler. Milos 25 to 1. Jericho Rock 33 to 1 if you're interested in those. Can I just ask you both about Harry Skelton using the whip above the permitted level from the second last, suspended, fine,
2,900,
7 days. Any thoughts on?
Well, look, he's broken the rules, and if we're going to have these rules and we've got these new whip rules coming in, we've got to adhere to them. I mean, I know his blood was up. It's a big race. We all make mistakes, and I make plenty of them. But yeah, he broke the rules. So he has to pay the penalty.
And he will do when he come March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of that, speaking of the penalty, are we getting to a stage now where if the runner-up hasn't broken, or the rider on the runner-up hasn't broken the rules, and the rider on the winner has broken the rules, Ken's already shaking his head. Should the winner be disqualified?
Look, as far as I'm
on the
concerned,
day of 2 weeks later,
it's
or
the
whatever it
jockey's
is?
fault. The trainer's done his bit. He's employed the jockey to ride it. The owner's put his trust in the jockey. The jockey's broken the rule. If I go bombing down the M4 and I do 100 miles an hour, the policeman doesn't stop me and say, well, your car's made by Audi or whatever. It's their fault. It's my fault because I'm driving it. So if he's the one who's riding the horse and he's broken the rules, he should pay the penalty.
And does that mean disqualification?
For him, not the horse.
jockey,
The
so
the
jockey.
horse.
No, the jockey should
Jockey
pay the
gets the
penalty. Yeah, the jockey
penalised.
pays the penalty, whatever the penalty is, which we altered.
But the horse keeps the race.
horse keeps the race, and the punters who backed it keep their money.
I disagree.
Do you?
I think the horse should be thrown out.
Yeah, but it's not the horse's fault.
No, but the horse has had that extra. He's broken the rules to win the race.
The horse has benefited from
The horse has
his...
we can't have the accent be on, the ones that break the rules getting the benefit. I'm not sure whether it should be kicked out on the same day. I can understand.
Okay, Sam.
Betting wise.
I'll change it. So we've got the race there. First and second break the rules. The third is 10 lengths behind them. So would you give it to the third?
I think
Yes.
yes.
Well, you can't do that.
No, but the point of it
why
is,
not? Why not?
Because how can as a punter, how can you see your horse being 10 lengths behind him in third and he gets the race? That can't be right.
stay
No,
within
I
the
know
rules.
it's not right, but hopefully it's going to be a big enough deterrent in those big races that they will ride to the rules. Don't forget you've got a margin of 4, isn't it, for the jump board? Quite a big margin. I think if you can't count to 8 or 12, but the ages they are, then we're in trouble.
But don't you think it shouldn't be 4 over? If you break the rules, you break the rules.
Yeah, but I can understand in the heat. I mean, I've not ridden a horse at 30 miles an hour and going hell for leather. But I think 4's...
Don't point at me.
I mean, obviously, champion jockey to your right has.
That's why I pointed to.
I only ride a Cheltenham.
Or fall off.
Why are you having to go at me again? It's constant. Can I just ask, though, if a trainer says to a jockey, listen, I don't care if you break the rules. We'll look after your fine. How do you deal with that particular element of it? We'll look after your fine, and whilst you're suspended, we'll look after you.
I don't think...
But don't jockeys want to ride? Most jockeys want to ride in all the big races.
But the big race, a jockey would happily take... You're telling me a jockey wouldn't take a 7-day suspension and a £3,000 fine to win the Derby by breaking the rules?
I can see your point. I can see your point. I think it doesn't look good if you're going to throw out the horse when it's down to the jockey's error.
And in this day and age, Ken, it doesn't look good seeing a horse getting
I agree.
3, 4, 5 smacks over what they should get.
I totally agree.
I think the whole interpretation thing and where the line is needs to be clearer.
Yeah.
And I do think that you break the rules, you've got to go.
Sorry, personally, what I think, you set a rule, you stick by it. You don't set a rule and then Rishi doesn't like it or Sam agrees with it and then, what should we do? You set a rule and that's the rule we stick by. And then
clarity.
And then everyone knows where they stand.
Yeah.
The punter, the jockey, the trainer, everybody knows this is the rule we're going to stick by.
One final point from me on this, but this has been, the new WIT rules that come in next year have been courtesy of some very thorough research, a lot of talking between the various bodies. They seem happy with it. Yeah. There hasn't been much dissent that I've heard from the PGA or, they've been very involved in the whole process. So I don't see why it can't work. And as Sir Mark Prescott says, they'll only do it once. I doubt that myself. But
the word deterrent is extreme. I think it's extremely relevant in this particular case.
We all have to accept our responsibilities, and that's whether we use language about ground or whether we hit horses too much in the heat of a finish.
And because it's such a contentious thing, again, something we could talk about for forever. But there were other good races to look back on. I mean, we're running out of time on this particular section, but there was McFabulous in the John Frankham. I thought it was a really smart performance, even though
jumped superbly, didn't it?
Zanza. On Friday.
Why didn't they train that for the Hennessy? It's Newbury record. It's unbelievable. Yeah. The only time it's been beat there was 2 lengths in a Betfair hurdle, and he finished 6th then from being about 27th, turning for home.
Very
Hennessy.
Good point. I mean, too
next
late
year's
now.
Hennessy.
Champion Paisley Park on Friday served up an absolute treat.
Yeah.
Lucia winning the mare's race.
Very good.
That was smart. First Street in the Jerry Fielden.
Another horse to carry top weight.
Yeah.
Don't be scared by 12 stone. Yeah. Just run them.
Give them weight away. Again, good performance.
First Street I mentioned in the Amarillo Sky. And the other horse that I really wanted to mention, and I've touched on it already, was Jet Powered, who won at Newbury this weekend. Ken.
I wasn't present, but Ken will tell us a bit more about him.
The race had depth. I mean, there were some expensive horses in the race. They walked in, and you said, "No, this looks nice. This looks nice. This looks nice. Wow, what's this?" Jet Powered. He's got a lovely frame. He's got a lovely way about him. He looked quality.
Is it possible he's another star for Nicky?
Well, yes, I think he is. I mean, I'm not. To me, he's got the Shishkin look about him. He's built like him, and I love the way he went about it. He travelled nicely. He jumped. He quickened. He's got the full package. Even now, he looks
another
like
one to win geared down.
Yeah,
and the point you made earlier about being able to recognise trainers' horses when they come in a paddock. Nicky just buys the same type of horse, doesn't he? You can spot them a mile off.
They all look well. They've all got that certain amount of quality about him. And in a good paddock, that was a good paddock. He just looked a quality horse, and he put up a quality performance.
Briefly, tell me what you thought about Stay Away Faye.
Again, liked it. Nice. Did think the horse was all right. Liked it a lot. Yeah, very good performance. I mean, he looks more of a more staying type.
3 mile.
3 mile chaser in time. Yeah. But again, a really good performance. But also, the horse that I liked was the one that won yesterday for Willie Mullins.
Oh, gosh,
Grange Clare West. I mean, that looked, for Cheveley Park, that looked all right. Another one of Willie's found in.
Yes. And Comfort Zone, the juvenile. That was.
I was going to mention some of those, obviously. Classic Getaway, who cost $1 million, well, $500,000, 570 grand, and then obviously things over hurdles didn't pan out, but he looks like he might make it as a chaser.
That was probably the best novice chase of the week.
Very smart.
I think so.
Beat a strong field. Journey with Me came down late in the race, and Phil Dorr over fences
he was
yesterday.
excellent, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Very
really
polished.
well. And
Better than Saint-Noir, who just looked a bit cumbersome over his fences,
They
didn't he?
pulled miles clear of everything else.
I thought Saint-Noir did well to finish where he did, considering how he jumped, really. But
And he
Phil
gave weight,
Dorr,
didn't he, as well?
Yeah, but Phil Dorr looks a natural, doesn't
Yeah, he does.
Very polished.
And he's got the physique to jump a fence, and gosh, he put it to good use there, I thought.
All right. In the recap, as we're at the end of it now, if there was one horse to run at Newbury on the weekend that you expect significant improvement, whether it was in victory or defeat from the weekend, what's the one horse that's gone into your notebook, computer, etc., that you're thinking, I cannot wait to see this horse because I know he wasn't quite there, or she, when they come back on the racecourse, yes, I'm going to have a good look to make sure that they've tightened up and I'm going to have a proper lash at it.
Well, I'm never going to get a price, but I think we've got to be jet powered.
Yeah.
I was really.
So how
taken.
fit do you think Jet Power was for that run?
I would say it's about 85 to 90% fit. And he'll probably go to the kennel gate because that's where Nicky always goes with his horses that wins the race, John Bond, etc. They always go to the kennel gate. But he looked a horse of some potential.
We certainly did.
And we can't let the week be recapped without passing on our condolences to John Hanmer's family.
Indeed, the family of and friends of John Hanmer, who sadly passed away yesterday. I had some great chats with him over the years when
Fabulous
I was working for the BBC, and he had a lot of really interesting stories. A man who lived a rich life. So we do send our condolences to the family and friends of John Hanmer as we bring to a close this week's racing recap. Right, we're going to look ahead to the weekend's action here on Racing Weekly. But before we get into the weekend preview, just to let you know of Bet365's ITV racing offer. If you back a winner at 4-1 or more, place a bet on the next live ITV race and get your money back if it loses. That's money back up to £50 and applies to the first single bet placed. Bet restrictions and T's and C's apply. New and eligible customers only. The first race we're going to have a look at, obviously, is the Tingle Creek. And we're talking about another Nicky Henderson trained horse in Shishkin, who, if he is at his best, and if you're standing in the paddock on Saturday at Sandown, Ken, and you see him looking 95%, 90%, that's good enough to win this race?
I think so. I've just got a little doubt, and we know he had an injury after when he ran at Cheltenham. But it's the race before that when he ran behind Emerging at I'm just wondering if 2 miles might be a bit short for him.
It's a fair shot.
Because he beat Emerging because he outstayed him, and don't forget it's 2 miles 1 at Ascot. And I'm just wondering if he just might be lacking the toe for 2 miles this year. I might be totally wrong, and he might just bolt up. But that's just my slight doubt. And given that he's going to be a short price favourite, given what happened at Cheltenham, I'm prepared to look elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a fair comment, isn't it? Because it'd be interesting to see how his confidence is, really, because obviously Cheltenham was a pretty horrendous experience for him. There was obviously an ailment there which had sort of manifested. He never went a yard that day.
Yeah.
Whether that's left a little bit of a mental scar. I think if we see the Shishkin that's turned up that we've seen a number of times. I mean, he's won all of his completed starts, I think. I was looking at his first time out record. He won a point after 242 days off. He won a bumper after 111 off. He fell in his maiden hurdle, obviously. He won the Kempton Novice Chase after 258, and he beat Greaneteen by 10 lengths in the Desert Orchid after 261 days off. So he also comes to hand pretty readily. As I say, won all of his completed starts. I just think he's a better horse than Greaneteen and
Edward Stone
and possibly Ferny Hollow when he's at his best. But does that leave a mental scar? You've also got to factor in the Nicky situation as well. He's 5-4. We're going to get a dry week all week. Now I'm sure Andrew Cooper's going to put plenty of rain on, but you've just got to think about that. Now you've got to play, Nicky bingo really. It's a bit like he's the new Willie Mullins, isn't he? We're not like 100% sure until we see him down at the start, and he's got every reason not to run them when he's not happy with or finds the ground suitable for his horses. But if it does dry out quite considerably this week, with a dry week and some warm temperatures, it's so difficult to keep the moisture in these tracks at the moment
course.
that has to be a little bit of a proviso. Plus, he's never been to Sandown, has he?
No.
So he's never jumped the railways.
No.
And like you say, you're taking on a Greaneteen who's 3 from 5 round there, an Edwardstone who won a Henry VIII in a 4-second quicker time than last year's Tingle Creek. So you've got good horses against you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 to 4. I can understand why Ken's a little bit.
Okay, so who would you play in the race as a back?
I probably wouldn't have a bet.
Okay.
It's not very often I just put the straight bat, is there, and just like nudge one into the covers. But I think there's too many. I love Greaneteen, and Paul Nicholls will tell you he's a much better horse this year, or he thinks, and he's only 8 going on 9, so every chance that he's still on an upward curve. I suppose he's the percentage play, but on the speed figures that myself and Andy Bate keep, like Shishkin's just a better horse than Greaneteen. Greaneteen knocks out the same figure relentlessly. He's almost metronomic. Shishkin can knock it out the park if he's right. And unfortunately, a phone call to see whether Shishkin was right came to no avail this morning, so I can't be any help there.
All right, Ken, if you had to make a play in the Tingle Creek?
I'd probably go for the fitter horse, go for Greaneteen. He's going to run his race. Edwardstone, like I saw him walking around the paddock at Cheltenham 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was a little bit tubby like myself, so I think he'll come on for the run. Even though Alan King's taken him to Nicky Henderson for a gallop, I think he'll just come on for the run. So I'd go for the fitter horse who's ready to go now. So I'd go.
And if the ground dries out, Greaneteen won't be a concern for him.
Okay.
And he'd done plenty of work going into Exeter as well. He had done plenty. He'd been up that gallop 3 times, a few times, a bit like Rishi, machine.
I would have had to.
So there might not be
wheels to get me.
There might not be tons of improvement to come because he had done plenty going into that. But obviously a good performance.
All right. You teased the fact that obviously we're hoping to see John Bon in the Henry VIII. That would be exciting. He is very exciting. He got closest to Constitution Hill in that performance at Cheltenham at the festival. I mean, with regards to the 2 mile novice chasers, where does John Bon sit for you? I mean, is he worthy of a 2-1 favouritism for the Arkle?
Probably not. I wouldn't say so because he's got nothing. Again, the problem we've got with our novice chasers, there is never any strength in depth in them. Right, he'll turn up at Sandown. There won't be many horses against him. He will win. If you go to Ireland, I keep banging on about Ireland. If you go to Ireland, if you go to Willie Mullins, so Willie Mullins has got appreciated. Yeah. Right. He's got. I'm trying to think. He's got Kilcrut. He's got.
Sir Gerhard.
Maybe Sir Gerhard. He's got more horses to take him on with. Yeah. So I don't think that's the problem.
McFabulous.
They have more strength in depth in their races. That's my doubt. But look, anyone who saw John Bond at Warwick had to be taken by that performance. He did everything right. His jumping was good. Even though I think the third fence, he danced in front of the boards and took off. He did everything right, and he's very exciting. And 2-1's a bit short, but he could be the real.
And he's the only horse at home can live with Constitution Hill or finish in the same parish as him, apparently.
I do like a horse that dances in front of the boards. It's always a good sign.
Prancing horse.
Little 2-step.
Strictly for you next.
Yeah,
those days are gone.
Those days are gone.
Hips are gone.
Knees, mostly knees.
Yeah, I've heard you wanted to see Ola's cha-cha-cha.
Well, I can still shake it on the dance floor, just to let you both know. What about the Becher Chase, Sam? Can I come to you on this? Geskill, I thought, ran a terrific race. Still a young horse, still 6 years old.
And that's the problem, isn't it? No 6-year-olds ever won it in 30 starts.
Yes.
30 renewals.
Yes.
Only 3 7-year-olds have ever won it, and one of those went on to win the national, Silver Birch. That's a slight concern.
Stepping he had a hard race.
Yeah.
I mean, he's actually never been this far. He's never been over 3 1/4. But
what price is he with 365?
I am searching here at the moment. The only prices I've got are the old prices.
Yet again, supposed to be a dry week. There's showers perhaps today, the odd shower today, but other than that, it's going to be. It's soft, good to soft in places at time of recording, and I would think that's only going to go one way unless they put. Sir Lake of Armour puts a lot of water on, but that said, it's still going to be a dry week. There's a couple I liked. Also finished second in the race last year, Hill 16. Sandy Thompson's going great guns and unveiled a nice horse in Bass Rock again at Carlisle over the weekend. I thought he was a fair price. He's double figures, I think, with Bet365. Only beaten a nose by Snow Leopardess in a Titanic tussle 12 months ago. Like that. And the other one, if it was going to dry out, that was going to be a bit of a price, was Frankie de Burle. Peter Bowen's never won this race, but he's won the Topham
Great
5
record,
times since 2007. And this lad ran in the Topham last year behind Mac Totti, who won for Peter Bowen.
Yes.
He finished 4th, ran really well, loves decent ground, obviously ships up at Market Raise and seems to win there every year. Trip fine for him. The sole entry from the yard as well. Now, normally he goes off, this time of year isn't his cup of tea, November, December, January, because he wants some decent ground, but we're on unprecedented times, as you like to say, Rish. Yes. And I just think maybe the ground will come right. 25 to 1 with 365. I'd have to have a 5 each way at those odds.
All right. Any thoughts from you, Ken, on how this...
I would give Snow Leopardess another chance. She loves the track. She was very unfortunate at Warwick when she capsized at the first, which was just unlike her. But yeah, she loves the track. The yards have been in good form with Charlie Longson. Yeah. I'd just go with a small chance with Snow Leopardess.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a wonderful attitude as well. I mean, it's a great story anyway. The fact that
fabulous. She just wouldn't want the ground to dry out too much for her, would you?
No, that's
but I'm sure it won't. I mean, it's starting in a good place. It's soft, good to soft. Yeah. Hopefully they can maintain that.
Well, I backed Gaskill when he was second, and thought I was going to win, to be fair, all the way up the home straight, but didn't quite get there, thinking that, well, over 3.25 miles, that would, but then he's never actually run over that far, and I'd want the ground to be, I'd like to know that the ground's going to be soft enough for him, but at this stage...
You bet then, or are you straight betting it?
At this stage, I'm going to play the old wait, have a look.
Yeah. Play surf
before I run for the single. I don't want to get. I
don't want single. I bet it have to be a long single.
No, I don't really.
It'd have to be 2 there, Rish, wouldn't
I'm very much Chris Gale. I don't run.
Swing from the hip.
Hatton's Grace. We should give this race a mention because, of course, Honeysuckle's trying to win it for the 150th time. Yeah. But it's possible she may face her stiffest challenge in trying to retain her crown in the Hatton's Grace. In all seriousness, she's trying to win it for a record 4th time. State Man might go, Classical Dream, Sir Gerhard. I mean, they're all in there. I mean, the plan for Sir Gerhard is still to go over fences. So, but I don't know. What do you think?
Lucky enough, I've been there for 3 of her 4 victories. Couldn't go for the COVID year, but I've been there every time, and she's just been brilliant. I mean, she comes in, she looks the part. Anytime they put a new rival, she's beaten them. This year, William One seems to have a strong depth in that division. And hopefully he'll run at least 2 against her and see what she is. But yeah, she's just a fabulous mare. I expect she'll come in looking fit, alert, and ready to get on with it, and she'll just do her thing.
She's very businesslike, isn't she? I mean, she just gets
from 7 in there. Yeah. It's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, obviously she hasn't been unbeaten, but to win 7 at any track, potentially 8. 1 or 2 people have suggested that the Bromhead horses are a little bit behind. They're just needing that first run. Bob Ollinger blew up a little bit on his comeback, and
I'm not sure about Bob Ollinger myself.
Yeah. No.
I've got a theory about Bob Ollinger, and I might be talking complete nonsense.
Go.
I think him trying to chase
Gallop Under Shot broke him.
Has broke him. I remember Sprinter Sacre against Peddler's Cross.
Oh, yes, at Kempton.
I think Sprinter broke Peddler's Cross that day. He was never the same horse, and I think that's the same as could happen to Bob Ollinger.
One question: where's Vauban?
I think he said that he's a little bit behind.
Right.
But he'll have him out. But
because he was going to run him in the
but he did say they were. I think he just had him in, but he did say they were a little bit behind. Him, so he'll be out soon. I presume Christmas time at Leopardstown.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, you're not going over this weekend for this?
Yes, I'm going up,
All right,
I'm there, okay. I'm there. Lucky enough I am there to see her.
We're in the wrong game, we are. I know. Gets everywhere, the man.
Yeah,
I'm going to go back to this paddock watching.
I
mean, I nailed it.
Too late, you've missed the boat now.
I nailed it in the early days with Omaha City. I mean, I got that right, didn't I?
Did you? Omaha City?
50 to 1. Got no chance.
You said he couldn't win,
Eric comes there on the bridle.
You're not on your own, though. Good friend of ours, Andy Holding. Remember him telling John Babb that Libertine couldn't win at Cheltenham? It looks like a hat rack. It's sweating up. 25 to 1, absolutely lagged up.
Crimes.
It does happen.
It does happen.
It does happen.
Oh, yeah.
It does happen.
Oh, yeah.
Less to you than it does to people.
It's better to be negative about the short price ones, I find.
Is there something running this week, Ken, that you've seen and you thought, that's that's in the notebook?
I'm trying to think. What's that? Sandown.
The trouble is we don't have any decks.
You haven't got any
it's
decks.
awkward.
I think I tell you, I did ask him, but I don't know. I asked Joseph O'Brien about
Banbridge?
Banbridge. And he said
he's
he's in the
Dringmore.
Dringmore. He said he might run him. I was so impressed with him at Cheltenham. Came back from 2.5 to 2, and he just took it in his stride. Jumped really well. Yeah. He said he may go to him, but he said I've got him entered. He may run him there, but wherever he goes, he's got to take a note of him. But but he may go to. I think he may be itching to go to Leopardstown at Christmas.
All right. Yeah. Anything, Sam, other than for the week ahead that we've discussed already? You just want to...
Banbridge? I haven't really seen any other entries. I'm quite happy with my two in the Becher if they both go. Hill 16 from a yard in good nick, and Frankie de Burley for a bit of a reverse sweep for 6. Switch it for 6. That'd be, wouldn't it? I'll take that.
Yeah. Who would you model yourself on?
Bats wise,
yeah.
I was Ian Botham was my idol, but I was more Chris Tavares.
Who would you model yourself? Serving. Everything about
it's only Viv to Ken.
That's my mate.
Yeah, well, he's connected.
Oh, well, it's been...
hang on, yourself?
Well, of course.
Brian Charles Lara.
Of course.
100%. The high backlift, the big flourish through the covers.
Yeah.
And also...
The only difference being that Rishi normally nicked off.
I used to pretend I was at that level, but it was good fun.
Lara was 400.
I was his predecessor, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway. It's been a lot of fun chatting, Ken. It's been really insightful finding out a little bit more about how you go about your work, and looking forward to many more years of Ken on the course. You see what I've done there? Any golf fans out there? See?
Thanks, Rishi. Thanks for having me.
On the race course, sorry. Sam, thank you very much. That is it for this week's Racing Weekly. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, this programme brought to you by Oddschecker in association with Bet365. Thanks very much to Sam and to Ken for coming in today and discussing all the racing that we've seen. It's been actually a real pleasure talking about Constitution Hill as much as anything else, and what's to come this week at Newbury. As always, if you like what you've seen or heard, then please do leave us a kind review on YouTube, in the comment section, or indeed on Apple Podcast. Don't forget that we're back next week when we're looking ahead to the international meeting at Cheltenham. But from Sam, Ken, myself and the team here at Racing Weekly, bye-bye for now.